BFG tells the tale of a young girl named Sophie, played by Ruby Barnhill, who is whisked away by a giant to a place called Giant Country. She soon discovers that this giant, played by Mark Rylance, is actually not what he seems. He is actually a kind, friendly giant who, instead of eating children, gives dreams to them. She also discovers that the big friendly giant is the runt of a group of giants. So together, they must team up to stop these evil giants from taking over and eating all of the children of London. Now, when the trailers for the BFG first dropped, it instantly became one of my most anticipated movies of the summer, along with the whole year. And why? 2 words: Steven Spielberg. And yes, I mean that Steven Spielberg.
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chum some of this. One more person. And I didn't.
Steven Spielberg today still remains my favorite director. He can create any good film. So I had very high expectations walking into the BFG. So, are they met? Let's find out in the cons. My first flaw for the BFG is its slapstick humor. And this movie was full of it. It was people tripping and hitting each other and falling. It just wasn't Spielberg humor. And it's something that another recent film of his has suffered from. The Adventures of Tintin also suffered from slapstick. And so I don't know what it is, but maybe his kids' movies nowadays are really just kind of, their humor is just kind of nosediving. It's not doing that well. He can do humor, and slapstick is just lazy for him, I expect. My next flaw for the BFG is disappointing. This is a movie about a young child who forms an unbreakable bond with an out-of-this-world creature. Sound familiar? Because that is basically the same premise of Steven Spielberg's masterpiece, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I personally believe E.T. is Spielberg's greatest film to date, even better than maybe Schindler's List. However, he can't do that in this film. He creates no emotional connection between Sophie and the BFG, something that he should have executed perfectly, considering he executed it perfectly in E.T. So it was very disappointing. They kind of just talked, and no emotional connection was really built up. And it was really disappointing. Another flaw I have for the BFG is the pacing. Now, Spielberg usually doesn't have a problem with pacing. This time he does, because you can tell this movie is really supposed to be about Sophie and the BFG forming an emotional connection, something that E.T. did well, and most of E.T. revolved around that. And since it worked so well, you were so engaged that you didn't need an action scene that often. The relationship works so well. And this, since the emotional connection does not feel real and it just doesn't work, it just bogs down the film, and it's long and it's boring because this emotional connection doesn't work. If it had worked, the lack of action scenes would have been much better. But since it doesn't, you're always just kind of sitting there waiting for something interesting to happen, which it doesn't happen that often. Now, let me remind you, we are talking about Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg is easily one of the masters of practical effects. Whether that be a great white shark, or a T-Rex terrorizing a car with children in it, or a small alien from an unknown planet, or an explorer running away from a giant boulder. He has not only made it look real and feel real, but he has made it actually real, which is called practical effects. That is when you can actually reach out and touch it. The shark in Jaws and the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and E.T., those are all animatronics. They are all real models that are moving and doing things. And Spielberg, almost never used CGI. Jurassic Park was the first film to do that, and the reason Jurassic Park still holds up is because he doesn't use computer effects a whole lot in that movie. Most of Jurassic Park is models. Now, since we live in the 21st century in which everyone uses CGI, of course Spielberg's going to use CGI. Man, it does not look good. I mean, it just looks so fake and artificial. It doesn't look like you could really reach out and touch it. And I'm sitting through the movie, it honestly came to me. These characters look like they should be in the Adventures of Tintin movie he directed. They just look so much more like they should be in an all-computer-generated movie than in a live-action movie with, like, real people in it. It just doesn't work. I can't believe I'm going to say this. The Ninja Turtles, in the Ninja Turtles movie, the new one, look more realistic than the BFG. And that's sad. Doomsday in Batman v Superman looks more realistic. And that's sad too. Because we're talking about Steven Spielberg. Man. Alright, now that we've gotten all the cons out of the way, let's jump into some pros. Something there should be a lot more of. But anyway, let's just jump into them. First of all, there are two solid performances I'd like to note. The first one is Mark Rylance as the BFG. Now, Mark Rylance recently won an Academy Award for Spielberg's The Bridge of Spies, and he was very solid in that movie. And in this movie, he's also amazing. While the CGI for the BFG isn't that good, Mark Rylance really sells that he actually is this wobbling giant. And I almost forgot that he was playing the BFG. He just does such a good job. And the second one is Ruby Barnhill. She's not as good as Mark Rylance, but I think I can give her a pass. I mean, she probably is staring at a tennis ball and a stick most of the time. So for being like an almost all CGI movie, she does good. And yeah, those are two solid performances. Thumbs up to both of you, even though you're probably not watching this review. Thumbs up. Another pro I'd like to talk about in this movie is the cinematography. This movie is very, very well shot, and Spielberg is a master of cinematography, as well as he was a master of practical effects. He's a master of cinematography. He knows how to keep that camera running and moving for a long amount of time, long takes, and he does great in this movie. It's good cinematography. That's all there is to it. To be honest, my favorite part of this movie is about the first 5 minutes. Spielberg really sets up. He just really hits the nail on the head in this first 5 minutes. Ruby Barnhill's good in the first 5 minutes. I'd say right when she gets taken by the BFG, I'd say it's over. But when we really get like to know London and the orphanage, I think that's really good. We jump right into Giantville. And I must praise him. He kind of had the abusive like orphanage owner cliche, but she was only mentioned and they never actually showed her, which was good. Honestly, the first half is so engaging, so gripping and realistic. It's just really well done, really well shot, lit, and really good suspense. But once Ruby Barnhill or Sophie, she gets taken by the BFG, yeah, it just goes. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the BFG mostly resorts to slapstick humor. There's one exception of an actually funny scene. And that is the BFG breakfast at the castle scene. That's actually a really funny scene. Although like the fart juice thing isn't that funny, I think he does build it up that you know what's going to happen. And it amuses you and it does create anticipation. But overall it's actually a pretty funny scene. Also, my last pro is about, the first 5 minutes of this movie was very gripping. The very last 2 minutes is also, I'd say, about 2 minutes is very good. And I'm not going to spoil that. I'm just going to mention it. It's good. And if you see the movie, you'll know what I mean. It's like, it just ties the knots together and everything, it makes you feel good in that last 1 or 2 minutes of the movie. Guys, thank you all for coming and seeing my review of Steven Spielberg's The BFG. If you liked this movie, this review, please give a likes up, smack that like button, comment below, comment any movies you would like to see me review. And like I mentioned last video, I'm going to be reviewing a whole movie franchise. So get ready, be excited, spread the word. Not telling you the franchise though, that's a surprise. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'm still working on catching up. And wait, now that I've done this review, I'm all caught up. Oh no, shoot, To summarize the BFG, is the BFG a bad movie? No. But is it a good movie? No. I'd say it's about an average movie. If you are wondering if you should see the BFG, I'd say check it out. It's definitely not one of Spielberg's best or worst in years. In fact, it's pretty mediocre, but I'd just suggest checking it out anyway. You'll find some enjoyment, and I'd say it's worth seeing. I'm going to give the BFG a B-.